Hey everybody, Ryan FMG here, and today we are doing the 800 subscriber goal of the legendary tier list for the new set TOA, and I guess I should say, hopefully we hit it. Right now, we're at like 790 some, right? Like I think like 94, but I want to release this on Friday. It's a couple days early because I have some time to record this now. So hopefully come Friday, it's not like 790, 5 or something like that. Hopefully it's 800. Either way, thank you everyone for subscribing. October has been fantastic on this channel, and it means a lot, right? It's nice to know that people are watching my videos and that are liking what I'm saying enough to hit that sub button, and hopefully that can keep on going. But thank you everyone, and let's jump right into it. So the first on the list in the S tier, to no one's surprise, is Serpent Demon Orochi, and this just has tons of text. It's a 8 MP for an 8/8, and we mostly know what it does. This is such a powerhouse of a legendary card. There's whole decks that are really just trying to use and abuse this card, or just some black decks that don't even try to really abuse it with, False Throne into Rebirth or anything like that, and they just play it because it's such a value engine, and man, it'll take your opponent so much to deal with it. And yes, they can seal it, but it's still a 8/8. That's really big. Or they just, peen it so much, and this just does so much damage that, I don't even need to talk about it. It's ridiculously good. Up next, we have Sun Goddess herself, 3 MP for 1/3 with growth of 3. And it says level 2, gain +1/+4. Level 3, deal 4 damage to a random enemy unit. Level 4, give all friendly units +1/+1. Level 5, gain +2/+2, agility, veil, and indestructible. This just does so much. Even if you just get one trigger, it becomes a 2/7. You get the second trigger, it deals 4 damage across the board, to a random enemy unit. And then, man, if you get to that level 5, this becomes a win con. And yes, it is 3 MP, so it does die to a lot, like most AD removal, like Fate of the Unworthy, stuff like that. And since it does have growth 3, it does take a while for the growth to rack up. But like I said before, even if you're only getting a couple growth triggers off this, it still does way above average for a 3-drop. Demon King is next. The 2 black legendary units are both in the S tier. This is 4 MP for a 2/5 with Revenge. Gain attack and HP equal to their respective values when this unit died. It also has Ascend. Gain +1/+1 a number of times equal to the attack of the unit destroyed by this unit's Ascend ability. This just gets so big so fast, right? You sacrifice something to give this +1/+4 or +2/+3, what have you. And then it becomes a 2-drop when you get it back with Revenge, and it's just so good, right? Like kind of with the other black legendary, it just takes so much for your opponent to deal with this, and so much resources, and you know what? That's great. That's what black wants to do. They just want to grind through resources and just pummel you down. And also this is really good at just smacking phase 2, because if you get this, +3/+3, this is hitting the opponent for 5, or they're wasting a lot of resources to deal with this. And guess what? It comes back because it has Revenge, which Revenge is one of the best keywords. So already you have a really good unit. You give it Revenge, it becomes fantastic. The last S tier is actually an action. It is Sun Goddess. It's 3 MP. If your hero is red, they gain reduce all damage friendly units take by 1 and increase all damage enemy units take by 1 for 25 seconds. This card is the last in S for a reason, because I think this could be S or A, but I do really, really like it, especially that Growth Wolf and other just red centric, throwing damage all around are very popular, and Sun Goddess fits so perfectly into that, because that means all of your ETA triggers, or Sun Goddess herself trigger of dealing 4, well, now it will deal 5. And especially with Growth Wolf, you just swarm the board, and if your opponent is swarming the board, you play Sun Goddess, and now all their stuff is doing less damage to your units, and your units are doing so much more damage. So this just does exactly what red wants to be doing. It wants to win combat as well as just throw damage around, and Sun Goddess is like, yeah, I'll help with that. Don't worry about it. I gotcha. This is where the tier list gets a little weird, and I spent some time and I'm like, I think this is where I want it. There's only 1 card in A rank, where there was 4 in S, and I think it kind of shows how the power level of some of these legendaries are just so much higher than a lot of the other ones. So the one and only A rank I have is Diplomacy of Love. It is 3 MP. If your hero is purple, they give -1 attack and slow to all enemy units for 20 seconds. I do think that maybe A rank is a little high for this, but I actually really like Diplomacy of Love. I think it's very, very good in a lot of purple decks like Big Res or even like Dante Burn, stuff like that. It does exactly what you want to be doing in some purple decks. Definitely not all, maybe not like Growth Purple. Even in Growth Purple, you could throw this and it really helps your units to trade up against their units, and especially in like big res stuff like that, it just gives them slow, you're taking less damage, and you just it's kind of like a halt-esque of just taking less damage and giving them slow, which is halt in a different way, and a lot of purple decks just really, really want that. So yes, this card might not be seeing tons of play, but it is still a really good card. Time to move on to the B rank. First up, we have a purple unit. It is 6 MP for 110 with shield, growth of 2, so very easy to get, like if you play 3-drop, you're getting 3 growth triggers for just 2 units, and that feels fantastic. The first, you gain +1 attack damage. Level 3 is gain +1 attack. Level 4, gain combo and spillover. So that's just a lot of good value right there for a lot of purple decks, right? There are a lot of purple growth decks running around. They are not maybe the best decks. However, just come in a couple weeks or so with the nerfs and the balance changes, I do think that purple growth will be a little bit better, and this will definitely show its worth a little bit more. So I could see this one maybe going up a little bit higher in the rankings come a couple days from now. 7 Soaring Spirits is up next. It is 2 MP. If your hero is green, they gain when a friendly unit is placed onto the field, randomly distribute a total of +4 points between friendly units, HP, and own life for 30 seconds. This card I do really, really like because 30 seconds is a long time, especially in something like Yon Li or something where you have so much MP and especially Ascend units. You could throw around and gain so much HP or life back, and that feels really, really nice, especially against red decks. This really shines in against the red decks because Growth Red just wants to do so much damage to you all right away, where if you get, all your units are getting +1 HP across the board or +2 HP, that just makes your stuff harder to deal with. However, it can be a little bit dubious because it is definitely a workaround card because you need to make sure that you play this and that you're able to flood the board with units, because if you play this and then you just play 1 unit, that's far from worth it. So that's why it's kind of solidly in the B rank, where it could be more powerful, it could be less powerful, but overall I like 7 Soaring Spirits. Great Swordsman is up next. It's 3 MP for 1-2, and basically it just has a whole bunch of growth. How many times have you leveled up your units within the game? 3 or more times it gains +2/+4, 5 or more it's +1/+2 in Heavy Pierce, 7 or more +1/+2 and Crush. So basically you want to be making sure that you are getting 3 or more, 5 or more, 7 more, idealistically 7 or more, and that's kind of hard. I think this card, when I first saw it, looked a little bit better because it's like, oh man, this is going to be such a humongous impact just for the price of 3 MP. However, it's green, where this really, really wants to be with other growth units that have growth of 3 or 2. A lot of the good green growth units have growth of like 4 or 5, and that is very hard to rack up the growth points. But there could be a good green-red growth deck. I have seen some people playing that, and then Swordsman definitely seems like a fit for there because all of your units are just racking up all these growth points that you can drop Swordsman, and you can easily get your level counter up higher and higher. But I don't think those are the best decks, at least right now. Who knows for the future, but that's yet again why this is solidly in the B rank. Dark Exchange is up next. It's 2 MP. If your hero is black, friendly black units gain Revenge, and when a friendly unit dies, sacrifice 1 life for 60 seconds. I thought this was going to be extremely busted, like S or A tier, because Revenge is so good, and this is just 2 MP, and it's for 60 seconds, which is the most out of this cycle of legendary actions. And yes, I think this card is very good. However, a lot of black decks already have units with Revenge, or a lot of black decks might not necessarily care about having revenge units. Yes, revenge is always nice, but this is not adding any stats to your revenge stuff. It's just making it cheaper, and you still have to draw the card. And there is a big downside of whenever a friendly unit dies, sacrifice 1 life. That has come up a lot, and I have died to that quite a lot because this is for 60 seconds. So yes, this is still very, very powerful, and maybe with some nerfs coming up, this will get more powerful because we are seeing some nerfs to some of the revenge black units. So maybe Dark Exchange will do just a little bit more bang for your buck when you kite some black decks more need that. Now time for the lonely C rank. Up first is Divine Spear. It is 7 MP for a 2/8 with combo. Awesome, I do love combo. Ascend, gain +1 attack and agility. Man, do I love agility. However, it says reduce any damage taken to 1. Good, good, good. However, this unit takes 1 damage every 5 seconds. I don't like this card that much. A lot of people recommend it or ask questions about it for Growth Wolf and stuff, and I'm like, you know what, if you want, there's so many better 6-drops, right? Like Dragoon or some of the new 6-drops are just better in my mind, and they're 6 MP. There's a big difference between 6 MP and 7 MP. It's 1, and that's a big difference, right? Especially when you're talking about growth triggers and all that, right? However, this is a powerful card. Like, combo and agility is good, and this will hit a lot, especially if you ascend it, but this dies to itself, or just, you know, your opponent shoots it a couple times with some damage, and then it takes damage, and it just dies. I would love to pair this with more like, oh, give HP to your units and stuff, but that's usually in green, and you can't really play this in a green deck because it is 7 MP. So yes, this card looks powerful, but how it plays, especially just with what's going on in the meta right now, it's not that good, and there's just other better things to be doing that are cheaper. Wood Sprite is up next. 5 MP for 1/5. This unit cannot block enemy attacks. Attacking, expend -2 HP to give +1/+2 to a random other friendly unit. Ascend, exchange this unit's HP with your hero's life. I like this card. It's cool. Every time I play with it, I'm like, I wish this was Karen or a Rainy Turtle or something like that, because I don't know, maybe if you throw agility on this or something where it's attacking and throwing around more +1/+2s, that is better. But I don't want to evaluate a legendary card with then another card giving it agility, like the dream case scenario. So just like base stats, like, yeah, it does work. It does stuff. It pumps up some of your other units, but you also still have to have another unit on the board. So like you could like play this, play another unit, and they just like destroy your other unit, and you just have Wood Sprite hitting for 1, and that does not feel good. It does have a ton of HP, so that means you can get, this could take some damage, soak up some damage, and then just hopefully attack a couple times. But all in all, there's just more powerful things to be doing in a game of Teppen. Now time for the lonely D rank, and yes, maybe this should not necessarily be alone in the D rank, but I just don't particularly like this card. It's God's Gift. It's 3 MP for 1/6. This unit's attack cannot be blocked. While on the field, this unit takes 1 damage every 5 seconds to the unit in front. Resonate, return this unit to your EX pocket. So the dream case scenario is like, you play this, you know, hurt the unit in front, and then right before this dies, you play Foresight or whatever to jump it, bounce it back to your EX pocket, you play it again. It's too slow. That's what it is. Like, every time my opponent plays against it, it's like, LOL, that's really slow. Sure, it's doing something, but what it's doing takes time. It's 1 damage every 5 seconds. That takes time, and then bouncing it to your EX pocket, playing again, it just takes so much time and doesn't do that much. So overall, that's why it is in the D rank. It takes the most time, the most setup, and just does the least overall. Overall, that's my tier list for the new legendary set. I do think some of these will get better and some might get worse with the balance updates and just how the meta evolves. However, you know, maybe not unlike other sets, but I was really thinking about this when I was making this tier list is, man, the S tier is so good. Like, these 4 cards in S tier are so fantastic and so above literally the rest. Like, there's a big gap in my mind, and basically why I still put stuff in like the A rank is because, like, you still need to make a tier list, right? And it's just like the cream of the crop is so much higher than even the average stuff. and some of the average stuff is even a little bit worse and could be lower. So really the discrepancy of the good, the medium to the bad is tenfold here, and maybe that's just showing that some of these cards, you know, especially in the S tier, especially like maybe like this one, the right here, are like just too powerful, right? Maybe technically this should just be the only S tier should be the 8 drop, and all these other ones should be in A rank. I don't know, but this is what I decided with, and I'm pretty comfortable with this tier list. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time.